Hi folks, you're with Tacitus Today. Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the amount of people who are in positions of power. So, we're talking about judges, college professors, journalists, politicians, social workers. You could sort of look almost at any field of endeavour these days, or any occupation, fact checkers for social media. The amount of people who are in these positions, lawyers, prosecutors, the amount of people who are in these positions who are nursing deep felt hatreds and animosities to their fellow citizens. Now, it could be, feminist prosecutors who believe the patriarchy, Nazi patriarchy is everywhere. It could be gay, lesbian people who believe that the straight white males are oppressing them at every turn. It could be the fact checkers who are bullied as kids. It could be whatever, but people who are nursing and maybe nursing it because of either their experiences, their interpretation of those experiences, or they've been indoctrinated to believe that oppressors are everywhere, and really whatever they do to harm other people is part of the fight against the Nazis, Hitler. And so they're sort of doing good. And they may be living in their folks' basement with absolutely no future hope of any sort of a life. But hey, I'm fighting those damn Nazis. That makes me a good person. So, and that's becomes sort of their purpose in life, if you like, the fight against the Nazis that are everywhere. Hitler. Now, what's wrong with that? I'll just digress a little bit. Having had to, this is in business, of course, but having had to hire a lot of people over the years, over a career that I'm still working, but a career of decades, where I've been sort of held various supervisory type roles, VP and EVP and CEO and this sort of stuff. And I was always very mindful of not wanting to hire people or put people in any sort of position of power who had some strange or twisted axe to grind, and who felt they were bullied and humiliated, whether it be by parents or fellow kids, kids at school or whatever, people in the street, and their role as they saw it now as adults in the workforce was to redress those past grievances and prove the people wrong from years ago, and get back at the bullies and all this sort of stuff. And if they had the power to do that, and they wanted the power to do that, and they wanted the power not to build things, not to create things, not to make the world a better place, as in make everyone better off or invent the cure for cancer or something like that. What they want to do, they wanted power to enact vengeance. They wanted revenge on the world for having treated them the way they were treated, whether it be yesterday or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever it might be. And they still nursed the hatreds of what they would perceive was the ill treatment, bullying, call it what you want, ill treatment of now the way to solve this was to find people that, in the workplace, assuming they had the power, find people there who were most like or best represented their oppressors as they imagined them, their oppressors of yesteryear, and then to exact their vengeance on them. So it was or to make what were once their oppressors, make them bow down before me. I have the power now, and you will bow down before me and beg my forgiveness, you fucking Nazi. So these sorts of attitudes. Now, I was very mindful whenever I detected that axe to grind crap in people. I didn't want them to have power because I knew they would misuse it. They would use it to settle personal scores and to do to do spiteful, petty things to their fellow, their colleagues, work colleagues, and that would create bad attitudes, and it would spread dissent and lower morale, that sort of stuff. So anyone who's going to be a supervisory role had to be focused on the objectives of the organisation and to better the situation for their work, especially in a supervisory role, to better the situation for their work colleagues. Now, not everybody, it wasn't perfect. Some people could slip under the radar, but for the most part, I was able to stop that. And if I did find out somebody who was doing those sorts of things, I'd say, hey, you have to come out of that supervisory role until you understand that your job here is to do. You have a job to do here. You can't engage in petty vendettas and be settling petty scores of when you were 10 years old at school and getting bullied. That's not it. You're not paid to do that. And as long as you focus on that, you're going to fuck yourself up, as in fuck yourself up in the head and get distracted from what the primary mission of your job description. And I would take people off supervisory roles if they did that, or I detected them doing it. Now, again, it wasn't perfect, but I think I was able to stop most. You don't have an axe to grind. You have a job to do. Do that job well, and you have no problem with me. Now, there were people, a bit like elections. You hire, you get to people you don't like or policies you don't agree with can get voted into office, and I accept that as being part of democracy. It's better than any other way of doing it. Like you've got a super gifted, bright dictator, then that might be better. But there are not many super bright and gifted, I represent the people type dictators around. But by definition, by dictator, you don't represent the people. So this idea of sort of serving your colleagues was, I believed in this very much. And so if you've got your, say you're the warehouse as an example, you're the warehouse manager and the forklift, let's say the forklift breaks down. But the guy who is the forklift driver, you don't like him. So you delay calling the service people to fix the forklift because you have to do it, you're the supervisor, just so you can castigate the guy and give him shit for not having moved the correct number of boxes or, the correct number of pallets or something like that. And so you deliberately because he reminds you of someone you didn't like from 20 years ago who used to bully you, that type of thing, that level of pettiness. Now, there were people who reported directly to me who I didn't like, and I found them irksome in ways that weren't work related but were personally related. I remember there was a guy who had a particular smirk on his face when he would talk, and he probably thought it was a smile and he's being pleasant, but it reminded me of a smirk of this dickhead that I, one of my peers at high school, and who used to irritate the fuck out of me, and his smirk was just the same as that guy's smirk, and instantly, as soon as he smirked, which he seemed to all the time, I'm sure he didn't, but it seemed that way, I would instantly sort of think, you prick, you're a dickhead, and but I just had to look past that and say, okay, that's my problem, not his. Nor can I say to him, look, will you stop that smirking? That again, it's my problem, not his. And you have to look past those things if you're going to do your job and do it properly. And you have to depersonalize your interactions with others if you are so inclined. There was this kid. I was briefly at a particular high school while the folks were getting our house renoed, and they wanted like cheap accommodation while they were putting all the money into the house. And so near this high school that was very, very multicultural and a very unpleasant place, by the way. 11-year-old kids running around with flick knives and that sort of thing. But there was a kid who was constantly trying to. He would drop a turd in the middle of the boys' sports change room, and then he would try and grab kids as they came in, sometimes with his Confederates, grab kids when they were coming through the door, so unwary, and try and push them into the turd. And then, it was a source of great merriment for they were Arabic, these people. And he just had that hoodlum, this guy was just a hoodlum from top, a thug hoodlum from top to bottom. And one of the guys who was like a trainee technician, I think, I'm going back a ways here, but his boss brought him in and said, look, Abdul or whatever he was called, he wants to do some training course that was going to, and he brought Abdul, and I never really had anything to do with Abdul, not directly. And this kid said, and he was exactly like this fucking kid. I mean, the manner, the look, the way, the set of the jaw, the way he stood, the whole thing. He's exactly like this kid that used to want to push you into the turds in the change room. And I remember being put off by it straight away. I'm thinking, why would I want to invest training money in you fucking thug? And all those thoughts sort of came back. So sometimes it takes a lot of will and discipline to not let those things distract you, not let them get the better of you. You have to say, no, I have a job to do. And that job is to meet the goals and objectives of the company, and to conserve the company's resources and avoid waste of resources, and to try and better the lot of the. Now, if this kid gets the additional training, he can then do more complicated work, which means we can then charge him out in terms of technical services. We can then charge him out to the client, which is then of benefit to the company. It's also a benefit of him. He becomes more skilled, and so there's a lot of benefits. But you've got to look past your personal animosities and the ghosts and demons of the past. So it does take a lot of willpower, and I accept that. Now, that too is part of the issue. If people are inclined to engage in petty vendettas and revenge getting, if they don't have the willpower to overcome it, or they can't overcome it, or refuse to overcome it, or think, hey, great, I'm now in a position to give shit to all those people that used to give shit to me. If you get into that, then you're the wrong person for a supervisory role. And I see it around the place all the time. And so let's just come back to this. So there's a judge I know who was bullied horribly as a kid, and you can still see it. You can still see the residue, if you like, of that bullying in his manner, and there's something about him that there's a level of accommodating other people's point of view that is borders on the subservient. But I think he is a genuinely nice guy, by the way. And I think he genuinely tries to be just. But the days of his bullying, which I think went on for quite some time, you don't have that sort of scar tissue left. If it was just a one-off thing, he's the cases that he hears, and I think generally, but he's fine. But if he hears a case about bullying, or where there's elements of bullying, or where someone who's a thug bully sort of comes in to the court, and he sits there quietly, doesn't say anything, but I think he already made up in his mind that you're just like those pricks who used to bully me. Well, hey, motherfucker, now you're in my court now, and I will punish you for, you will take the punishment for the things those people did decades ago. There's another, judge who's one of his kids committed suicide supposedly from bullying at school, and this judge loves, gags to get cases that are like that have got those, and his sole objective, in my view at least, is to punish the bullies, and that his kid suicided because of, as I understand it, suicide because of bullying. His mission is to get vengeance whenever and wherever he can. Now, I think that's wrong. I don't think he should hear those cases. But the same goes for a whole range of folks. The gender studies lesbian academic who suffered endless barbs while at school, wanting to behave and look and act and talk very differently, and the barbs she would have got at school. And so her role now is to turn out as many students as she can that hate white men and white society, because there's white men and white society allowed these things, not her behaviour. Nothing wrong with her behaviour. It was all as though everyone else was bad and wrong and evil and Nazi. So her job is to churn out as many students as she can to hate straight white men and families and marriage, and that's her job. Her job isn't to educate, it's to turn out people filled with hatreds, and they will then spread those hatreds around in social work and elsewhere where these people may be found, or in NGOs and so on. Look at the fact checkers that were in Twitter before Mr. Musk bought it. Those fact checkers, they almost to a one, they were haters of straight white males and white society, and their job was to shut down straight white males, and anything in support of white history and white culture was to be shut down, and anything that attacked white history, white culture, and attacked straight white males was good and virtuous and must be promoted, and so on. These people weren't fact-checking. They all had an axe to grind, a serious axe to grind. They all had these insecurities oozing out of every pore of their body, and they were there to get vengeance. And one of the trust and safety people, it wasn't just Twitter, but say Facebook or any of those, they're all rabid activists who are not there to check facts or anything of that. They're there to get revenge. Now, you see this with the Soros-backed prosecutors and so on in the United States. And the judges, look at the judges hearing the Trump case in America. Look at the people in charge of the January 6th prosecutions. They're not after justice or facts or evidence or anything like that. They're there to get vengeance against those damn fucking Nazis. And there's no attempt to be to control their wild, twisted, perverted, sick passions to go and get revenge. And this is something that we need to recognise and accept, that it's people in positions of power all over the Western world now have been put there for the primary purpose of, well, we'll give you the job because you hate straight white people, you hate white society, you hate white history and culture. So we're going to put you into a job where you can really indulge your fantasies to the max. And again, the people going after Trump, they're just fantasy indulgers. They're not serious people. They're just children with twisted, sick fantasies going through their heads. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.